my editing tips for photography on social media.
And we have Clint Saunders, who has just arrived. And although he's early, we are ready for you, Clint, so you can talk for an extra 5 minutes.
Ooh, lucky you.
So we have just learned about the basics of social media, what to post, how to engage with your audience. And one of the things that Erica mentioned is that images are really important. She gave us a few simple tips about, keeping your images clean and focused on one subject. But we've invited Clint Saunders here. He's the director of Dakota College at Bottineau's photography program and has a long career in photography. So Clint, please tell us about yourself and your photography experience and teach us how to take better photos for social media.
I'm going to teach you in 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
We have 11 classes at Bottineau, but I'm going to teach you in 10 minutes. So one of the things we have I just wrote a new class called Art with a Smartphone, and it's about how to take, it's a combination of intro to photo and two-dimensional design. So we learn how to take better photos with your smartphone as a camera, and then we learn editing apps, as Eric was just talking about, and some of the different apps that are out there. Not only how to use them, but why. I think one of the problems people have with apps is they just start scrolling through all their presets until they find one that looks cool, and then they're done. And so we learn how to edit with intent. Why are you editing this photo in the first place, and what do you need to do to it? When it comes to marketing type photos, I'm going to be doing a class here in December called 6 Steps to Better Photography. It's something I do in my intro to photo class. It's also the first lesson in my Art with a Smartphone class. And it's just 6 basic things you can do with every picture you take to create stronger photographs. And nothing about post-production on any of these, just straight photography. And so I highly recommend that if you can join in. It's a fun lecture. We actually do it hands-on. During the lecture, we take breaks for you to actually take photos to apply these things, because you can apply them to anything. I can take this McDonald's cup and get a great photograph of it if I apply these principles. It isn't just about neat subjects. So that's what that's about. And then part 2 of that lecture series, you're going to go ahead and share some of your photos, and I will give you critiques on them. What's working, what could be improved. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. And you'd be surprised, or maybe you won't be surprised. I'm always happy with how good the photos are whenever I do these things. I see some great photography, so it's pretty exciting. But I'll give you direct feedback on your photos. In terms of the biggest tips I can give you for what you're photographing, and something I do with my students all the time, is go to Google Images and look. Look up farmers market photographs on Google Images and find examples that you think are good and try to break them down. Okay, what makes this good? Why am I attracted to this image and not attracted to this image? What are the differences? And learn to, because that's just developing your eye. So much of photography is just an eye. How do you see? And do you see good photographs or do you see bad photographs? So breaking down images is the biggest step, I think, to learn to get better at photography, because then you start to see it. Now, when you're at that farmer's market and you pull out your camera or your smartphone and you're going, wait a second, I remember that doesn't look good because of this. Or, ooh, look, you're going to see those moments that do look good, and you're going to start to capture them better. And then what Erica just said, my next tip would be an app that I love is Snapseed. It's absolutely free and it's extremely powerful. It'll literally do everything you need. And in my Art with a Smartphone class, I'm encouraging my students to play with new apps every week, but all of them by week 4 are like, nope, I just use Snapseed. It's so easy and it does everything I need. And the biggest thing, it's free. And is Lightroom free, Erica?
Most of the features are, unless you want to do like actual touch up of like making things disappear in a photo. But all the other features are mostly free. So.
And how much is it?
I'm not sure because I have the full desktop version, so it transfers to your phone.
Yeah, I do too. I have no idea if you even had to pay for the app because I don't have to. And Photoshop, if you have Adobe Suite, also comes with Photoshop editing app as well. And the thing I find with Lightroom and as Photoshop, and I'm a Photoshop person, that's what I have used for 20 years. I don't even like Lightroom. I like Photoshop because I get so much more control. But Photoshop as an app's no different than Photoshop on your desktop. It's not easy to use. You have to kind of learn it. Where like Lightroom and Snapseed are pretty self-explanatory. They're sliders, you know, they're menus, they're things that you can read and go, okay, I want to do that. And so I recommend those, especially if Lightroom's free. It can be a good one. I've never used it because I just use Snapseed. But so that would be the next step, is then learning how to use those, not to make them stylized or cool, but to fix them. What are some things in the photo I want to enhance or unenhance to bring attention to my subject? So those will be my two first suggestions. Google images. Find out what you're shooting and how to make it look better. Develop your eye. All righty.
So I'm going to give you both an example. Okay, I have a bakery business. I make whole wheat bread. Clint has actually done, and his students have done some images for me in the past. Okay, it was a fun shoot. So say I'm starting from scratch with a bakery business for farmers market. I need to set up a Facebook and an Instagram, and I need to get some photos. Can you give me some simple tips for starting out? Where should I go to take my, should I take my bread outside to get a photo in the natural light? Or?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing we're going to deal with always is lighting. Lighting is photography. You know, if you don't believe me, go take a picture in your closet. You can have a nice black picture. You know, lighting creates form in a photograph. It creates line, texture, color, shape. It creates everything in a photograph. So good lighting is going to create good form. Bad lighting is going to create bad form. I can make anybody look good in a portrait with the right lighting. I can also make anybody look bad in a portrait with the wrong lighting. So it doesn't matter what the subject is, whether it's a portrait, a McDonald's cup, or a wonderful loaf of bread, the way the lighting shapes the subject is key to getting it to look really good. And that's one of our 6 steps that we study. For product type photography, I find window lighting can be really gorgeous. I love window lighting. It's one of my favorite forms of natural lighting, because you don't want to go outside unless it's overcast. Because if you go outside, you're going to get direct sunlight, which causes really hard shadows and really harsh highlights as well. So the window diffuses that and it softens that light, or as does overcast. You know, an overcast day just softens that light, which gives you a lot more even lighting. But I like window lighting, and get directional lighting. You know, that window, don't use the flash on your camera. All that does is fill everything in and eliminate all the form. It eliminates shape. It just blasts it with light.
I agree with Clint. I take all of my photos in windows just because natural light is already there, so why not use it? And I think it also creates really bright, beautiful images without having to mess around with external lights or warm lights or cool lights or whatever in a building. So I like to find a nice, not even a sunny day, just whatever day, and go to the window, and I use a foam board, a white foam board, as a reflector sometimes to make sure that it's light throughout, depending on what the subject is. So yeah, I think that natural light is the way to go. Just find a window that has beautiful light, and you can just go to that window to take pictures. To answer your question, Stephanie, for me, when I take on a new social media account, I like to make, kind of like Clint said, like looking up Google pictures, I like to make like more of a mood board. I like to use Pinterest for that. I create a new board in Pinterest, if you guys are familiar with board, and I like to look up whatever it is, so like restaurant photography or farmers market photography, and I like to save different ideas and kind of grow a collection of ideas. This way I can kind of have a go-to for what I'm going to shoot of ideas for what I should shoot. How did they line different things up? Did they do above photography, straight on? Did they, you know, what different subjects do they have? That's a really great place to start if you have a new business and you don't really know what content or how to take pictures. Just create kind of a mood board that has a bunch of ideas that you can kind of look at and use to create your own imagery.
Yeah, and I do that. You know, I've been a professional photographer and artist for over 20 years, and I still do that on a weekly basis. I I call it art ideas folder on my desktop. And when I see a really cool image, I save it in there. And I never try to duplicate it by any means. That's somebody else's work. But any work that inspires creativity with me, I save it in a folder so that when I have a chance to create, I open up that folder and I just start looking through images and go, oh, you know what? That inspires me today. And so whatever the theme is or the idea, the concept behind the work, then I'll start creating from that. And it's the same way with commercial work. Absolutely. And then a couple things with window lighting, things to be careful of. You would think you want that sun coming straight through that window, but you don't. That's no different than walking outside and having the sun directly on your product. Typically a north-facing window, if we talk about window light photography, in the old days, they used all natural lighting from studios. So they'd put these huge windows on the north side of their studios because that way you never get direct sunlight through that window. It creates nice soft lighting no matter where you're shooting from. So if you don't have a north-facing window, just make sure the light's not coming directly through it. And then what'll happen, what Erica's mentioning, so if I like to side light. So I'm gonna set up my windows over here, my McDonald's cup is here, and I've got the side light coming in and hitting it and wrapping around. Sometimes, especially with window light, because you're inside, this side ends up way too dark. So then if you just buy a simple 99-cent sheet of white poster board at Hobby Lobby, you can prop that up over here and the light bounces off of that and back in and fills the shadowed side so your shadows aren't quite so heavy. Now you want some shadowing, remember that's creating shape. But if the shadows are too heavy, it's very distracting and it's not as aesthetically pleasing, as well as it can also, you know, especially like bread, you know, we're photographing that beautiful bread, we want to see all the texture in that bread. So if we block all those shadows, we're not seeing that wonderful texture. So just a 99-cent, and I actually use foam core in my Art with the Smartphone class. I did a full product shoot using white foam core in my garage. I opened my garage door and just the natural light filtering in, it wasn't direct light, and I set up a full foam core setup and shot products on white. Now, I'm a studio photographer, so I much prefer lights, don't get me wrong. But if you don't want to invest in all that money in lights and then also have to learn how to use them, the window lighting's the best. And it's cheap, it's free actually, and you can really do some. Another thing with window lighting is backlighting. If you put your subject in front of that window and backlight it, and then put foam core on this side to bounce the light back in, you can get some really nice effects with backlighting if you expose for your shadows. Because then you get this beautiful high key background with that light coming in from behind it, which can be really pretty. And it's a really nice commercial aesthetic as well.
I have a west facing window in my kitchen, right over my kitchen counter. So if I'm baking bread for farmer's market, I will stop and grab my phone, get it all covered in dust and flour dust and oil, and just snap a few process photos while I'm baking and share those to Facebook. So if you have a window in your kitchen, that'd be a great, you know, while you're washing carrots for farmers market, or you know, putting eggs in cartons to take to farmers market, something like that.
And when you're at the farmers markets too, if they're set up in the tents, you know, the easy ups, those canopies make really nice light filters. So using those to your advantage too creates a really nice soft light.
Do we have any more questions from Amy or Karen? I'm so glad you both could join us. And while they're thinking of questions, Clint talked about an upcoming workshop that he's doing. Farms has asked Clint to do a 2-part series for us. That will be in December. And we will have more marketing information and registration coming really soon. And I have to confess that I don't remember the dates of that because I wasn't supposed to be facilitating today. It was supposed to be my program manager.
Those are in December. Let's see, I thought it was the 3rd. Yep, December 3rd is the first session. Thursday, December 3rd, and let me see what time.
6 p.m., 6 to 7:30.
Yep, yep. Session number 1 is Thursday the 3rd, and session number 2, where you can post your images and get feedback on them, would be Thursday the 10th at 6 Central Time.
So December 3rd and 10th in the evening, 6 to 7:30.
And the one on the 3rd is, like I said, it's hands-on. You're going to be doing work and getting feedback during that. The 6 steps to better photography, we're actually going to do each step. It isn't just a lecture. So be prepared for that. It's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite lectures. And you'll be amazed at those simple things and what a difference they'll make in your photography.
We have a question from Karen. She said, thank you for the photo tips, really helpful tips for Windows. Any tips for a broad image of a farmer's market experience, not just one vendor? So Karen is also on the board of Bismarcket, which is a great farmer's market in Bismarck.
Yeah, those overall shots are certainly important from a marketing standpoint. But I'm sure you've experienced, much tougher to get because you're getting ideally, if you could just get overcast, so you can get some nice soft lighting. Otherwise, you've got that intense sunlight. But at the same time, overcast also adds a kind of a blue color tone to your photography as well. So a tip for that, if you are getting very cool colors, they're not very inviting. You know, especially a farmer's market. It's summer. It's nice out. We want to feel that in the pictures. So if it is overcast, or shade, the negative is your cool color tones. So you can warm those up in post-production with a little warmth to them. Or if you can, change the white balance while you're shooting. Depends on your camera whether you can do that or not. But then the other problem is getting too wide. You know, if you're using a wide angle lens, it distorts reality and it makes everything really small, and it also warps everything. So if you're using a DSLR, panoramic stitching can be a way to really create a really strong, you know, super over wide shot instead of a wide angle lens, because it doesn't distort and the images are much sharper, but it is a lot more work. And you need a tripod for sure. The panoramic feature on your cell phones can work, but again, because it's a smartphone, you're making a really big picture really small. So image loss, there's a lot of image loss. But the biggest thing would be pay attention to your lighting so that it's not overly contrasty, because you get the light bouncing off those tents and they get super hot, and then underneath the tents is all shade and they're super dark. Overall shots of those are tough. There's really tough lighting experience. I don't know if Erica's maybe had some experience with that, if she could throw in there.
Not sure as far as like image quality, but if you are talking more about how to convey the farmer's market experience through content, besides just one farmer's market, or besides just one vendor, I would consider, so this is a different take completely than what Clint was talking about, I would consider thinking about what the entire experience looks like. So doing a slider of like one vendor, and the overall picture of all the tents, a picture of customers as the focal point, buying something, and then a picture of maybe a flat lay of the food that you can get there, and show the whole experience of the farmer market through different pictures, a lot of different ways. If that's kind of what you were talking about instead, I'm not really sure what you meant exactly by broad image of farmer's market experience, Karen.
And while she's typing, I have some comments from what I've observed from our farmers market interns this past summer. Red River Market does a good job of showing the market experience. They do work with a professional photographer. I think Bismarcket may have a professional photographer too. They do a lot of just like customers shopping, you know, enjoying their food and products. I saw a great photo from our intern at the Minot Farmers Market. Somehow he got himself up high above and took an overhead shot. I don't know if he went in a building across the street. So if there's some way to get yourself elevated to get a you know, an overhead shot of the market. And then I've seen some really creative vendor strategies. Off the Deck Hot Sauce was doing market dogs, all the customers' dogs that showed up at the farmer's market and sharing photos of the dogs was just cute and engaging.
Yeah, I would say as far as social media goes and farmers markets, when people are looking through or people that follow you, they probably just want to know what's going on at the farmers market. So just getting a lot of different pieces of the puzzle, showing them what vendors are there, showing them what experiences they can have when they go there, is kind of the way to go about it. Don't be shy of doing, like I said, like sliders or showing multiple images to give people kind of the full picture, and makes it more enticing, makes them want to come see all the different things they can come and do. And then I do agree with Clint when he talks about warming it up. I do that a lot for outdoor photography, because it makes it feel kind of cozy and sunny and fun, if you add a little bit more warm tones to the pictures for a farmer's market as well.
Warm tones and bright. You want to, if you look at commercial photography, it's very bright because it's supposed to make us feel good. You want this Jeep. If you had this Jeep, you could be bright and happy like me, you know? And so you really want that kind of bright feel in your commercial photography. You don't want things real dark or heavy or moody. And then in terms of the overall shot, and that was great advice for marketing, by the way, from Eric, I'm sure you know that, but that was really good advice for marketing. You know, show that whole experience. And an overall shot can definitely add to that, because especially if you've got a time when it's really busy, because you want to show people this is a happening thing. If you do an overall shot and there's 2 customers there, oh, well, nobody really goes to these things. And it's all, there's so much psychology that goes into marketing and advertising. And it also, you know, you don't need to, but something I do a lot is, and I'm starting to do with my students more, is evaluating color, the psychology of color. You know, what colors do you want to use in your photographs to make people hungry? There's so much involved with psychology of color. So again, that bright feeling, you want things to always feel bright and lightweight. And the more crowded they are, nobody wants to go to something that's not popular. You know, you don't want to go to the concert if there's 3 people there. This band must not be very good. But if there's 30,000 people there, this band must be pretty good. I probably want to hear them. So same type of thing with the farmer's market. If it looks popular, then we want to go.
Totally. As a millennial too, sorry, just to keep adding on to this, I talked to Stephanie about this when I did some intern sessions as well. We use social media as kind of a way to scope out events or to scope out businesses. Like, what is this business like? Do I want to go there? Am I going to be comfortable there? So showing like the experience and showing everything there is one way for people to kind of scope it out and be like, oh, I do want to experience that and come by that and see that thing, before they jump into it. Because a lot of younger generations are kind of scared before going to something. So they kind of need that extra reassurance. And social media is one way to do that. So.
Yeah, millennials. Totally teasing. All right, well, I gotta run, Stephanie. I have a meeting in 2 minutes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Clint.
Yeah, thanks for letting me in.
And I'll make sure that you see the comments that were left. I'll email them to you.
Tell Clint to get a haircut. Guy looks like a hippie freak. All right. Well, thank you very much. And hopefully I'll see people on December 3rd then. That'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And we will get that marketing information out about that upcoming photography workshop, as well as all the other educational events that Farms has coming up. And if you need to jet Clint, feel free. I'm just going to cover the final questions in the box. Thanks. So Karen mentioned that I'm just going to read it. Thank you for the photography tips, really helpful tips for Windows. Let's see. Bismarck had a pro one time. Now it's just volunteers with cell phones, which is also great. Overhead, she liked the overhead shot idea. What you were talking about is really that portraying a feeling of abundance, both in people and food, which is the same idea as produce shelves in the supermarket. And we've talked about doing that when you set up your farmer's market booth as a vendor, making sure that it looks abundant. If you start to run out of something, maybe consolidate so it still looks like it's overflowing. And Bismarck is going to try to do this to engage more Snap usage as well. So we're at 12:30. Any last questions for Erica and me? Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much, Erica, for sharing social media